Okay, good afternoon. This is John Clary, and I'd like to give you a small tour of our facility here in Monrovia. I thought I'd start outside and give you a little bit of the ambiance. We're in Monrovia, a suburb of Los Angeles. Behind us are the San Gabriel Mountains, and usually it's a beautiful sunny day, just like today. So let's go take a little tour inside. Okay, we're here at the front door. We're ready to go in, and I'll show you around. So this is our lobby, and we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at the sales department first. Since we're in, we got to pop on the mask. I'd like to show you where Pam sits. I'm sure you've all talked to her on the phone at one time or another. This is where our sales department is. It's a little bit hard to see because we have cubicles here, but in general, this is the part of the building handles the sales and administration. So I'd like to introduce you to Brandon as our applications engineer. He helps out with field issues with the UPS installation issues and questions concerning communications, SNMP cards, proper operation of the unit, setup of the unit. So here he is. This is his command post. Whenever you call him, you can kind of visualize this in your head. This department here is our mechanical engineering group. What they do is they help design all the cases and the structures and the interconnections and the electrical work that goes into the UPS. And this is our first prototype shop. We build our first prototypes here and check them out. And then we take them, when we're done with that, over to our test facility. Our test facility here is this, we built up with an environmental chamber and a bunch of electronics test equipment to assure that the product is built to the standards that we designed it to. Now we'll take a little quick peek on the factory floor. I think we've hit a lunch hour right now, so some people are eating at their workstations. So we have changed some of the rules for COVID-19 and closed the lunchrooms, and we kind of have isolated most of the employees, unfortunately. But you can see kind of where they sit, and right now they're probably not doing a lot of work, probably just eating. But I'd like to show you first the manufacturing offices. You may have talked to some of our manufacturing personnel. Mukesh here is our production manager, quality assurance in here, purchasing. This is where we do that. But the more interesting stuff is what we do with the board sets, how we design and build our UPSs. So I thought I'd walk you through the build process for a UPS. The initial launching point of a UPS begins in this room where we get our board sets back from the stuffing houses who put the components in. And what we do is we have built ourselves a chamber in here to simulate how UPSs might be working in the field, and we have a room here where we crank up the temperature to that which you might find in traffic cabinets. We let the product run here in a board set form for a few days. Okay, so for an example, here is a collection of SP1250 LEs sitting in test. I don't want to stay here too long because this room is very hot. But what we do is we let them run at high temperature for a few days, verify they work just fine. So now I'm standing in the middle of the sub-assembly area. The sub-assembly area is where we make the subs that go into the final product. For an example of a sub-assembly is a fan assembly, our cabling that goes into it, the front panels, the rear panels, some of the mechanical structures inside. And what we do here is we make them kind of in a group, and we go stack them on the side for final assembly. Now here I am at the battery test facility. We take all the batteries in, and before we put them in packs, we test them individually, characterize their performance, match them in sets before we send them out to the customer. So not only do we test the batteries individually, we test them as a pack. So here we are at the final assembly stations. We have a series of lines, and what we do is we make the products in a batch form. So your typical order is, 3 to a dozen UPSs. So we get the order. What we do is we go collect all those sub-assembly parts that we have made. We stack them up on a line along with the rest of the order, and we put the final products together that way. You can come get an example. This is one of the new 1400 LTs. I don't know who it's going to, but it's an order for 3. We get all the parts from the sub-assemblies that we've just built, and the boardroom that I just showed you. They're laid out here, and the technician assembles them all. These are some of our military products. They're built the same way. The ones that we work on at that particular time really depend on our scheduling program. So you can see some military units, some traffic units out here, some commercial units all at the same time. After the product has been assembled, the next step is final test. So what we do here is we take the unit after it's been assembled, we stick it on a cart, sometimes 2 to a cart, and plug it into the wall. This one right here is another 1400 LT. And we let it run for a day or 2 right here on this facility. Usually there's a lot more. We probably just packed up a bunch. What they do after this is while they're running in this burn-in process, they're peeled off one at a time and taken over to a test station here. The test stations behind me, we have 2 of them. What they do is they characterize the performance of the machine in actual operation. You know, where the trip points are, how good a quality sine wave we're putting it out, what the harmonics are for the input, and a bunch of other characteristics that you would see in a typical spec. So this is a series of units that have passed the final test, the electrical test, and what they do is they're stacked up here, and then they come over to this station here. And the point of this station is to put on any extra labels that might be needed, to mate it up with any manuals that might be needed, and then to give it an inspection that would replicate what the user would see as he removed the product from the box for the first time. So what we're trying to do here is make sure that when the user removes the product from the box, all the parts are in and all the manuals are there and it powers up the first time. There's a series of instructions for every unit on what those little components are that you stick with it and what that procedure is. After it makes it through here, it goes into our lineup. Our lineup here is a collection of units, and they're all on their carts and they're working their way back towards the shipper. So again, these are a series of LX units. They went through the final test, they went through the inspection box test, they're packed with all their goodies. And then they come over here. Almost all the units are shipped by pallet because of the weight, especially those with batteries. And we pack them here with our equipment. Okay, here I am now in the service department. I'm sure many of you have talked to George, who's a service manager. He's not here, he's out at lunch. This young lady here, our associate, answers the telephones if you have a service call. Our technicians are over here to fix the units. What we do after we repair the units is we put them through a mini series of tests, exactly like I showed you before, that replicate the process, but it's a little bit different for used units. But it has basically all the same components of the final characterization electrically, the final out of the box inspection test, and then the shipping.